Content creation and capturing your daily life is more important than ever. And at the end of last year, I said that the Insta360 X4 was the camera of the year, and a lot of you disagreed with me. So today we are taking a look at the camera that a lot of you said was the camera of the year, and that is the DJI Pocket 3. And right off the bat, like I saw how many of you were commenting on this camera, and I thought to myself, maybe for like content creators, this was the camera of the year. But when it really hit me was when I went to CES in Las Vegas earlier this month, and every content creator that I saw had one of these in their hands. Like everybody was cruising around the show floor, just filming themselves and filming the products with a Pocket 3, including myself. So today let's talk about the DJI Pocket 3, basically 1 year later. It's been a little over a year, but let's talk about this camera 1 year later. Pros, like why is everyone using it? Why does everyone say this is such a great camera? And a few things you do need to know if you are considering buying this camera. I want you to have all the information before you go make a purchasing decision. That's like 90% of my job on this channel. First up, let's talk specs on the DJI Pocket 3. All right, so the specs on the Pocket 3, I mean, they do kind of speak for themselves. 4K 60D log M, HLG modes. You've got 4K 120 frames a second in slow motion. Got the 3-axis gimbal on there, a 2-inch rotatable touchscreen, which is like oddly satisfying to use. Feels very like the build quality's there, where like you click it and it's like, oh, that feels good. Of course, a 1-inch CMOS sensor in there, and built-in audio is good, but it hooks up to 2 DJI Mic 2s. Now, a very impressive spec list. How does that all translate to this being such a great camera for creators? I think there's like 3 big ways, and then there's 2 things I'm gonna tell you about that like you just like to think about before you buy this thing or before you reach for it in your bag to film something. Now, the first one in the pros column is obviously size and quality. Like those two kind of go hand in hand, because between me grabbing this or my big camera, there's a size and a quality proposition. Like that ratio between the two make this compelling. Because even though my A7S III is a full frame camera with a 1-inch sensor, it still looks really good. Like to give you a concept of how good 1-inch sensors can be, Sony just released a $4,000 camcorder that has a 1-inch sensor in it. So 1-inch sensors can create incredible images. Again, we have 10-bit in here, D-Log M. It looks really good, and especially for something like CES or just like small content things, the size and the relatively good quality, like that ratio kind of beats my big old camera, even though it's better. I'm making videos on YouTube that you guys are probably watching on your phone right now. So speed and quality are huge, but speed is a big deal too. Like speed to capture. When I have my big camera, it's in my backpack and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to film something. It is like put my backpack down, get my camera out, get the microphone on, like get my lenses set up, get the filter that I want. Like it's such an ordeal. And with this thing, I can have it in my pocket. This is how fast it is. Wait, watch how fast it is on and recording. It's already recording right there. So I can go from like in my pocket, pull this thing out, flip the screen, and boom, I'm capturing that moment. Now that's really cool in the content world. I would say where I like that most is how I use this with my family, like filming my kids running around the yard, filming my kids on vacation. I kind of made the joke originally, like this is kind of my dad cam, but it kind of is. Like this has replaced that like old camcorder that our dads ran around with. This is kind of that for me, and being able to see a moment and be like, oh, that's really awesome. Boop, I'm filming it. Like I'm already recording it that quickly. Yeah, look, you guys, you might be right. Okay, the third big one, and this I saw everywhere as well, is that if you get the creator combo, it comes with a DJI Mic 2. Now, you can hook two of these microphones can be hooked into this camera. So while we were in Vegas, I got a one wheel, and my buddy Brandon, he is teaching me or helping me like start to learn how to ride a one wheel. I was able to clip one of these on me, clip one on him, and then have those both recording to the Pocket 3. And there's no setup. Like as soon as I turn it on and hit record, this thing starts recording, that's recording. It's so easy. And it has a feature that I do with my big cameras, but in like a much more complicated way. Essentially, when I'm running around with like the A7S III, like the beginning of this video, at the beginning of this video, I was at the beach. It would be weird if all you heard was lav audio. So I don't record the lav audio directly into my A7S III. I record internally here, and then I put a microphone on my camera and I record there. Now that microphone is mostly picking up like ambient noise. So if I'm at the beach, the waves. If I'm in the city, the sound of the city. And in post, I'm gonna sync that footage with this audio, and then I can level the two. Like I'm gonna make the lav sound really good, and then I can control like how much beach should be in this shot. Because it's weird, again, if you saw me at the beach, but you didn't hear waves. So it's a bit more complicated, but to me, totally worth it. Now that gets more complicated though, if I've filmed like 30 clips throughout a day, or there's like multiple days of shooting and I'm trying to sync all that in post. Kind of a nightmare. In here, let's see what it's called. Built-in mic audio backup. What that is doing is it's recording the lav internally, but then it's also recording a separate audio file that is just the microphones that are on the Pocket 3. So it's doing the same concept. Like I could have this at the beach, I could film, I'd get perfect lav audio, and in post, I would have the wave audio, like the ambient noise audio or room tone. I would have that in my camera. So then in post, I'm able to use those two files separately to make the lav sound really good, and then decide how much of the waves or the city or CES, like the chaos of the show, how much of that am I gonna bring into the video for you. So just like really impressive, like pro level features. 2 microphones that can automatically sync to the Pocket 3, and you can do something like the built-in audio mic backup. Like, you're winning me over to your point. Okay, let's talk about the couple of things you just have to think about before buying this camera or before grabbing this out of your bag. This is a wide angle camera. This is a fixed camera, so on there is a 20mm lens. 20mm lens is quite wide right now. Like this shot, I think this is about 22-ish millimeters, and like it's a big wide shot, and 20mm on this is a wide shot. There's no way to like, you can digitally zoom, but it's just digital, so I never do that. If I'm gonna zoom, I'll do it in post. You can digitally zoom on here, but it's not actually zooming the camera. So if you want like that kind of compressed shot, like I shot of this at the beginning of the video, that was on either like a 50mm or 70mm length right there. To get those compressed shots, you won't get that with this camera. Now, they do have this little magnetic bit that clicks on there, and it turns it into a wider shot. So now this thing is 15mm, and 15mm, like that is very vloggy. When I walk around with my big camera, I'm at 16mm. So this is 15mm. It's basically that kind of same wide shot that you would expect from vloggers. All right, here is that 15mm lens on the Pocket 3, and it does feel very vloggy. Like 16mm is kind of like the vlog lens now. Everyone runs a 16 to 35, and at 15mm, like you are getting that wide shot. This is just arm's length. I don't have it on a pole or like a little tripod. You could get it a little further if you wanted to, but yeah, I mean, it's a vloggy camera. Very vloggy, very, oh boy, very wide, but not long. So it can go fairly wide and then wider, but it can't go long. I would love if this thing went long. Okay, and the second big thing to think about before either buying or reaching for this in your bag is that this is a gimbal camera. If you've never shot with a gimbal, it's a different experience than like just grabbing like an action camera and being like, I'm filming you, now I'm filming you, now I'm flipping around, I film. Like wherever you point it is very much kind of what you're shooting. With this, like you can change the speed, like, but if I'm going from here and then I'm going over there, then I'm going over there, like there's a bit of like that gimbal lag that happens. It creates a very smooth shot, and it's aesthetically pleasing to look at. But if you've never used a gimbal, just understand that there's a bit of a learning curve when you first get this to make it look good and like to get your shots set up. I've had a lot of people kind of reach out and be like, I got a Pocket 3 and I found it hard at the beginning to get used to. And to them, I would just say, yeah, go shoot it. It's new, it's different. You've never shot a gimbal before. You gotta get used to it for a couple of days. And then once you are, you will get significantly smoother shots, really good tracking shots. Like with my kids, I use the tracking all the time because sometimes like my kid will run past me and I'll like whip the thing and it doesn't keep up with them. So if I'm tracking them when they start to run, the gimbal head will actually already start to go. So by the time I catch up, the gimbal already followed him, and I get better shots. The tracking on this thing is bananas. But here's the thing, neither of those two things are deal breakers by any means. And again, those three big ones, the quality, the size, the speed of this thing, and then the audio. Like you're just getting so much camera for this little teeny tiny thing that again, fits into my pocket. And as soon as I'm ready to film, I just whip it out and bam, I'm recording. Like that's so impressive. Camera of the year for 2024, I think maybe still debatable, but in the creator world, if you're a creator, 100%, this is the camera of the year for 2024 and probably for 2025. Like I expect at NAB to have the same experience where every creator shows up and just has a Pocket 3 with them instead of bringing all their big clunky camera gear. Like always though, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you have a Pocket 3? Like how has your experience been with this camera? Pros and cons for you that you might have? And if you don't have one, what do you want to know? Like what do you want to know about this camera that I can answer for you down in the comments? As always, I'll be down there as much as possible, and I will see you soon. Oh, don't get me waves. Every time I start filming, the waves start coming up. What the heck? Stay.